Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Mark, this is Spiguyver Backpacking. Appreciate you guys coming back, checking this out. Today I'm out here to talk with you guys about gear, and a specific piece of gear that you may have seen on my last trip video. Talked a little bit about it there, but wanted to get a little bit more in depth on it today and really talk you guys through what it was, or what it is, why I chose to go with it, and you know, the sacrifices that may be made, and really talk through my progression. You know, I've gravitated from being, and anyone who has watched this channel for any length of time for the past several years have seen me go really through a little bit of an evolution. And while I really do love ultralight gear, and I've got a ton of ultralight stuff, you've probably seen a little bit of an evolution back towards comfort. And I'm not saying everything is geared towards just comfort over weight. I still try to go as light as possible, but there's certain areas that I've decided that I'm not going to sacrifice comfort for weight. There are other areas where I may go out and decide that, hey, you know, something being a little bit lighter, even though it doesn't function quite as well, works out better for me. You know, maybe going with an alcohol stove, even though it takes longer to boil, is the right choice for a certain trip. But there are other things, and for me, it's really become my sleep system. So hammock, quilts, the warmth that's there, and tarp. I've chosen not to sacrifice in those areas. Those are things that I'm going to choose what works the best for me, not necessarily what's the lightest, because I definitely have extremely lightweight pieces of gear that could make up a base weight that's ridiculously low. But I've chose to kind of steer myself away from that and go back to what is comfortable for me. And that's what I think everyone should be doing, is looking at it and kind of weighing out, where can I go light and where do I need to have that comfort. And for me, having that good night of sleep is worth so much more than losing a couple of grams or a couple of ounces or maybe even a pound here or there. It's all about being able to be to enjoy the trip. You know, the purpose of getting gear, the purpose of getting pieces, is to go out and take a trip, get out in the backcountry or whatever it is that you're doing. But for me, it's getting out in the backcountry, doing backpacking trips, and being able to have a good night's sleep, get up the next day, and put together a good hike and feel good during that hike and not feel worn out and not have my body stiff and sore from sleeping on the ground or having a pad that's too thin, or sleeping in something that's got me cramped up, or not being able to sleep in the way that really allows me to sleep well. And so that's why I've kind of shifted where I'm going. So let's get this thing hung up. This is a hammock, so let me get it hung up and we'll talk a little bit about it. So here's the hammock in just its basic setup. So it's set up, it doesn't have the bug net on it. It is just set up just so you can kind of lounge in it. Wintertime, this is pretty much the best way to go. Wide open, easy in, easy out. But let's take a look at this. As you can see, it's a little bit different than other hammocks out there. It is a bridge hammock, but it definitely is set up differently than the bridge hammocks that I've shown you before, or that I think you've probably seen before. So what is this one? This one is the Townsend Luxury UL. So I first heard about Townsend about 8 to 10, 12 years ago. I don't even remember at this point. I was at a hang and someone was showing me their hammock that they had built, and they talked about this big boy hammock, the big boy bridge from Townsend. And I did a little bit of research. There wasn't much out there. I found a couple of people that knew about it, but really no one that had one, no one that I could test one out. And it kind of disappeared. I didn't hear anything about it for a long time. And then recently I saw a post and I was like, it's been a while. I've been thinking about this. I've mentioned Townsend hammocks, the big boy bridge, in several different videos in the past. So it was time for me to go ahead, reach out to Bill, and figure out what it was going to take to get me in one of these. And so it was an awesome, awesome experience. Let me first say that. Dealing with Bill knows his bridges, knows why he does things the way he does them, and let me just say, Bill is a storyteller. Bill is a published author. He has written a book, and when you ask him a question, he gives the most thorough, the most detailed answers and explanations of anybody, anywhere I've ever met. And so we went through the process, and I will say straight up front, I didn't get a discount on this. He did not give this to me. I paid for this full price, and that's the way that anyone else is going to do it. He doesn't give discounts. He doesn't give them out for free for testing. If you want one, you're going to pay for it. And he does a very limited quantity of them. He has a full-time job. He does other stuff, and this is something that he does and does really well. So I'd heard a lot about these big boy bridges, and so I reached out, and he's actually got a lineup of different bridges, and he was kind of directing me because of what he's seen me do in the past, and you know, he knew of me and knew of my channel and has seen my stuff. He was kind of directing me towards a lighter weight version, and I was like, you know, that's not really the way I want to go. I really want to experience the full thing. So this is the luxury UL. There's also a luxury, and then there's the big boy bridge. So this has the same exact dimensions as the big boy bridge. It just is a lighter package. So the big boy bridge is, I believe it's a double layer, and it comes with aluminum spreader bars. The luxury goes to a single layer, and you can get it in the 1.7 or a 1.2, and then it comes with the aluminum bars. But then you can go to the UL, and that goes to the Ruta carbon fiber spreader poles. And so spreader bars in carbon fiber are definitely going to be lighter, and these ones, foot ends 2-piece, head ends 3-piece. They actually stow inside of each other, which makes it really nice. So they do pack down a lot smaller. You don't have to have 5 pieces all there. You actually have 3 pieces because 2 of them go into each other. So really cool. But there's a lot of unique things about this. If you notice, it doesn't have quite the closed up ends that others do. It has a little bit of a drawstring on the end here that I can open up and have it lay flat even further out. And that's both on the head and the foot end. And I'll show you exactly why here in a few minutes. But the whole process was just a really enjoyable process. Knows his stuff. And so I went with this one. This one is the Luxury UL in a 1.7 hybrid. It's the Mountain Hybrid. It's a nice fabric. I got it in black with the purple accents, the purple pockets up there. The stuff sack that it comes in actually becomes a ridgeline organizer. It comes with a bunch of little doohickeys and gadgets on here that you've got to kind of figure out what pieces work for you and what don't. The suspension is different. The suspension is much different than the Banyan or the Blackbird in the fact that it doesn't, or the Ridge Runner, sorry, the Banyan or the Ridge Runner. It doesn't tie into the hammock body and have a junction point. It actually runs all the way through. So the AM steel that's there runs all the way through and creates the structure of the entire bridge, and really gives it more strength, because you don't have end points where there's a pressure point. It actually spreads everything across. Now it does make actually sitting in it a little bit different, because you have a hard line that goes behind your legs, but not a big deal, and doesn't really cause any, for me, any big discomfort. I guess if you had one that was a little bit stretchier, a lighter fabric, and maybe if you were sitting higher, it might. I actually find sitting in this one pretty comfortable. You can even kind of lean back. You know, I've spent nights in here where I actually brought my legs up and sat here reading or playing a game. No big deal. It kind of works out really well. Now, really the important part about any hammock is how it lays and how comfortable you can get. So I'm going to kick off my shoes, get in here, and kind of talk you guys through this. So as you can see, it is a very, very flat lay. You know, it's wide. So the big thing that sets the big boy hammocks and the luxuries apart from any other bridge out there is the width of these spreader bars and the width of the hammock. Extremely wide, which really reduces that shoulder squeeze that you get from a lot of hammocks. You can lay out a whole lot better in here. Now, this additional space that's up on the top and on the bottom allows you to move around a lot in here. Now, the way that I've got it set up right now, it's pretty flat. But if I move towards the foot end a little bit, it picks up my head end and gives me almost like a natural pillow. So I could use a smaller pillow and be good. The other piece that it does is it really allows that side sleeping. The thing that gets me in a lot of hammocks is, what do I do with my arms? Look at this. I can lay with my arms up over my head, which is how I lay at home. When you roll over onto your stomach, arms can go up above your head, move more towards the head end, and you actually have that little dip. So if you move more towards the head end, laying on your stomach, you have a dip. So beyond this spreader bar, it actually dips down a little bit, and that's a great place for a pillow to go and for you to kind of spread your arms over your head and lay out. That's nice. So like I said, laying down in here, really, really nice. Move towards the foot end and you get a little bit of a pillow here. If you move more towards the head end, now this is where I like it. I like it where I'm either looking up at here and having a pillow here, because now my shoulders are at the widest section. And so I've got a lot of room here, really comfortable. Now, if I don't have a pillow, my head does drop pretty low, which I don't like. Now, if you tighten this up, if you tighten up this cinch back here, it actually gives you a little bit more support behind the head, but not a ton. So a pillow's pretty necessary. But if I leave this a little bit looser, and I show how I lay on my stomach, this is where it gets really good. The other really cool thing about this is because of how wide and flat, it's not super deep. When I lay here, my feet aren't sliding together. In both the Banyan and the Ridge Runner, my feet definitely slide together at the end. Here, it's actually more natural, about 10 inches apart, which is really nice. Now I can bring them together, no problem, but it provides a whole lot more variability in how I can lay. Now it's really nice. I mean, laying on your side, you know, depending on where you want to be, if you want your legs more up, you can move more towards the foot end. It gives a little bit more width there, kind of supports you through here. It's the variability of how you can lay in here is awesome. As I'm sure it's coming across in this video, I'm extremely enthusiastic about this hammock, and for really good reason. I mean, it is the first one I can say it is more comfortable laying on my stomach than it is laying on my back. I sleep side and stomach at home, and so in the last trip, the very first night, I had a pillow with me. I've got it with me right now. It's my Thermarest pillow. It's a little bit bigger pillow. Put it down here in this dip, wrap my arms around it, lay my head down, and I'm out cold. Now, once it got a little bit colder, I did have the issue that I only had a 3/4 length underquilt with me. So today I've brought out with me my incubator 0 degree full length. It's a little bit chilly out here today, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop that on and show you guys what some of the features of this thing are and how you actually install one. Okay, so I have hung my incubator underneath here, and it's a full length, so it goes from right about where this spreader bar is all the way to the end down here. And I've got it set up that way on purpose right now. I could shift it a little bit more that direction, but because I would plan on laying on my stomach, I wanted a little bit biased towards the head. However, I could shift it either way to make it work. Now, the way that it hooks up at the top at the carabiner and at the carabiner end. Now you can adjust it and put some loops in there and figure out exactly where you want it. That's about where I have it now. And then it has little Prusik-on shock corded mitten hooks on either end that you would clip both the primary and secondary suspension through, and that lifts it on the ends. And then right in the middle, and you can adjust where this is depending on your quilt, but you can slide it around. You've got these two lifters that hook into the D-rings on the side of the quilts. So this quilt has D-rings both a little bit more biased towards the head and biased towards the feet. What I found is that the foot end sometimes needs it more than the head end, because the head end is a little bit heavier and flops down. So right now I have it on the head end, but depending on how I end up feeling at night, I could switch it to the foot end, because there's not as much weight pushing down. And I have seen that first time I went out that I needed it more towards the foot end, because I'm pushing it all the way down with my body weight more towards the head end. I'm definitely more top heavy than I am bottom heavy. My legs aren't nearly as heavy and don't push down as much. And so I needed that lift down on the foot end. Right now I've got it hooked up here, but if I was to switch it, I could simply just take it, got mitten hooks on here, just disconnect them on both sides, reconnect them down at the next set, reconnect it to the bridge line, come across to this side, find that D-ring that's on there, clip it in, and now it's set up down here. Now if I didn't have enough lift, it has these pretty hefty push locks. You can just kind of slide, push them in and slide, tension it, and get it to get that lift that you want. You set it up just like really like a gathered end, where it's kind of just in the middle. It's not out over the edges, and then when you get in, it's just kind of cradling you. So let me jump in and show you. All right, so if I'm getting in, I just come up to the hammock, grab it, make sure I've got both the quilt and the hammock body itself. I don't want to sit in the quilt, I want to sit in the hammock body. But I'll grab both of them so that they're both underneath me. Push it down so that I've got a good seat. Sit down in there, kick off my shoes. Remember that I've got this here, so I want to get my legs around it. Come up around it. Now I'm in. Now I can feel, does it need to be adjusted? So I'll give it a little bit more tension because it's a little bit loose right there. And so you can see it's pulling it up. You can already feel the warmth underneath me. You can see that it's pulling up here. So that's good. I've got my pillow in here. Oh, that is nice. Oh, the immediate warmth from the quilt being up against you is very nice. Now if I needed, I could add a second one and have it pull up a little bit higher. Go with D-rings that are up here even, and pull it up this way. But you could also mess with all of the suspension to get it to pull right. Now, getting onto your side, you can see you're just in here, and it's just nice. You can slide further back to get a little bit more drop down in there. My feet are covered because of I'm short and because I'm so far up to the head end. You know, if I was to slide down a little bit, if I was using it more like down here, actually I'm still pretty well covered there. Bring my pillow down. So that's one of the things that I will say is when I was just laying in bed, either reading or I had my hang time hook up here, I slid a little bit further down because it sits you up a little bit more. And then especially with the pillow behind you, gives you a great position for there, a great position to read. So it's actually really nice, and it's versatile that you can move around, and it allows you to change positions so well. Now there's one other piece to this. It is the bug net. So let's take a look at that. All right, so here it is with the bug net on there. And it's a pretty simple bug net. It's a bottom entry style bug net with elastic shock cord around the bottom, wraps around the bottom, it keeps it nice and contained. It just kind of slips over the ends. You tighten it up around the suspension, and then you can get in and out just pretty normally. So you just kind of open it up, come sit in. You've got it over the top of you. You just kind of pull it over the sides, get it where you want it, pull it down, and now it's pretty wide open in here. You can continue to adjust it. Right now I don't have it cinched super tight on the bottom. If I did, it would actually pull it a little bit better. Let me adjust it a little more. So that's all I do, is just a little knot there. Get it over the ends. And so now I've got a great enclosed area. So now on those summer nights, if I'm out and I don't want the bugs, well, now the bugs aren't going to bother me. Kind of get it centered up, and everything is good. I mean, really nice amount of area in here. No reason that I'm going to be up against it at all. Just kind of laying back here. Everything is really good. So I've got about 8 nights in this right now. A couple nights we're probably in the 50s. Most of them, there were probably 5 nights now that we're in 30s to 40s, and then I've got 2 nights that were down in the teens. And I've got to tell you, this so far is the most impressive hammock I've ever used. I know that there aren't many out there, and there's not a lot of people that know a lot about the Townsend hammocks. Bill Townsend, who created this and came up with the idea and came up with this design, found kind of that sweet spot for me. And so, you know, I was a diehard ultralighter that was doing as light as I could possibly go. I mean, the lightest fabrics, the Cloud 71s, the lightest nano bug net, a 3/4 zipper on one side, a half zipper on one side, 10.5 foot long gathered end to keep it as low as possible. Just the lightest materials that are available. Using DCF where able. But then, you know, I found my way to the Banyan, and the Banyan really changed things for me, and I found that I did like sleeping in a bridge a little bit better. I was a little bit more comfortable. The flatter lay really helped me out. And it had taken a while, you know, like I said, somewhere between like 8 and 12 years I've heard about this hammock and just hadn't done anything about it. You know, it was not cheap. I will tell you right now that the luxury UL with the carbon fiber poles, with the bug net, with all the features that it comes with, it's gonna set you back a little over 400 bucks. But for me, again, it's that not only is it a comfort thing, but it's that being able to get up the next morning and being able to hike without that fatigue. That if you're going out for 5 or 6 days, that fatigue adds up. You know, you may not sleep great the first night, you may not sleep great the second night. By the third night of not sleeping great, it's taking a toll on how you're hiking, how you're enjoying the trip overall. And so I'm willing to spend the money. I'm willing to carry a little bit of extra weight to get that good night's sleep, and that's what this is definitely providing me. For someone that at night at home sleeps stomach and side, dude, this is the way to go. This is absolutely the way to go. If you're a little bit bigger guy, if you've got broader shoulders and you don't like the shoulder squeeze, well, these are the widest spreader bars out there, and so you're going to get less shoulder squeeze in this, and that was intentionally how he designed these. And you can go with different fabrics. You can go with a 1.2. It's going to give a little bit more stretch than this 1.7, or you can go with a dual layer. You know, if you go with a multi-layer, you know, double layer fabric, it's definitely going to give more support. It's going to be a little bit more firm. Lighter you go, a little bit more stretch, a little bit more give to it. But it also, you know, the heavier the fabric, the longer it's going to last. And that's kind of the thing, is we have to use carabiners with this. You shouldn't be using my normal Beckett hitch system going through everything. Creates friction points that'll actually wear that out, and since the suspension is actually sewn into the hammock and goes through and is an integral part of the hammock, you can't just swap out suspensions if they wear out. So you've got to take a little bit better care of them. Carbon fiber poles, you've got to take a little bit better care of those. You don't want to scratch them up, ding them up. You know, you can't dent them, and then you know, you bend an aluminum pole, you can kind of bend it back a little bit, you ding it, it's not a big deal. You ding one of these, get some cracks in there, and you may end up with a collapsed pole. Now, this stuff sack that it comes with, you can see the length of it. It actually fits the poles inside of it. So poles, everything inside of there, I stuff it down the side of my pack, stuff in my quilts in the bottom, or if I've already got my quilt stuffed in there, I create a little bit of a pocket, slide these down beside, and I fit it in my normal light AF pack, no problem at all. Guys, if you have any questions, any comments, leave them down below. If you want any more information about this hammock, Townsend hammocks is in general, or you just have any other questions about the gear that I have, I've got a list of the gear that I showed today down below with websites, so you can go check them out. If you're looking for that flat lay, look, there's a lot of companies out there, there's a lot of different hammocks that are calling for a flat lay. Check out Townsend. I've got the hammock right now that I'm laying in that is going to be my go-to hammock pretty much from here on out. Yeah, it weighs a little more. Yeah, it costs quite a bit. But man, stomach sleeping, side sleeping, back sleeping, the width, it's incredible. It really is. I appreciate you guys checking this out. I'll see you guys down the trail.